G'day, I'm Ken Grant with Motivated Branding, and for the next couple of minutes I'd like to walk you through one of my very favorite keynotes based on my new book called Yoga in a Business Suit. Everything I learned in business success, I learned in yoga. I know for a fact it's also one of the very favorites that I give around the country from an audience standpoint. Very different. We know for a fact nobody's ever written a book like this one, so that kind of perks people up a little bit. It's full of energy, it's full of curiosity, but it's also very rooted to self-motivation and thusly motivation around maybe a company that you own or a group that you manage. Yoga in a Business Suit stemmed real quickly from me taking yoga for many years, and all of a sudden, and maybe this has happened to you too, maybe you're just in that moment in time when you hear something that no one else around you hears. So here I am taking yoga, and to look at me, I'm probably look more like a yogurt fan than I am a yoga fan. But here I am, I'm listening and I'm studying and I'm intent in the moment of the yoga. But the yoga instructor started saying words that I was like, God, these sound like words that I use in the motivational business or in the branding business. And she kept on saying different words. I was starting to get so excited, I almost started not listening and not being present to yoga. I was like, this is overtaking. So I'd end the class, run out, write down all these copious notes at the front desk on little sticky notes, run home, and after a while, I had so many notes, so much going through my head. I'm like, wait a second, there's enough here for a book. Now, this book lives inside of another much larger book, but for the time being, this is a great little, quick, fun little read. And there's basically 10 parallels that I've drawn directly from yoga straight into business. They look like this, and I'll go quickly through the 10. First of all, core. What's it mean in yoga to look at a core? We're always talking about it, or in sports, we're always thinking about it. Well, in business, ourselves as self-brand, as our own personalities, or particularly as companies, we want to always be rooting to a strong core. Many weaker companies don't know what their core is, so they just flounder around. This is the second I know what that core is, I can glom onto that, and everything else lives beyond that. The next one is pushing. In yoga, we know we can push ourselves. In business, sometimes we don't push ourselves. For ourselves, we don't push ourselves. What's it like to really push through our own status quo, our own comfortableness, and get into a place where, on the edges, we really start to think? So I really want to push the fact that we can push ourselves beyond our own comfort zone into something great and magnificent. Focus is a really important one, I think, in business. The more we can focus, the more we are an expert at something, the greater of success we are seeing in those kinds of companies. Being present, obviously, in yoga and in life, you really can't dial it in. Well, in business, we really shouldn't have to dial it in, but I think a lot of people do, right? Being present, the more you can be present in the moment, also translates, in my mind, to being relevant. The more present I am, the more relevant I am. The more relevant I am, the more attractive I am to my customers, right? The next one is communication. If you've ever taken yoga, there's always this chatty chat from the yoga instructor. We're doing this why, this connects to the next thing that we're doing. Great leaders do the same thing, right? They chitty chat all the time. This is why we're doing this today. Why we're doing this today together connects to the future and the vision of the company. So this one was really fun. It almost wrote itself. Never being alone is the next chapter in the keynote and in the book. Never being alone, you've often heard, and maybe this is you too, it's very lonely at the top. Well, in yoga, I'm taking yoga, but I'm surrounded by people. I'm never alone. If you're at the top of your company and you feel lonely, shame on you, because you shouldn't. You should have the right players around you that you never feel lonely. Transversely, if you're an employee and you're like, I'm so lonely, or you're a boss, I hear my people are so lonely. Fix that as soon as you can, and we talk about this in the keynote. Employees should never be lonely. If you are the one employing the people in your company and building out the culture, then you should be hand selecting all the people. I don't care if it's 1, 10, or 10,000. You still have the ability to create the culture that you want. And when you have the perfect culture, no one will ever feel lonely. The next one is no pain, no gain. This was important, and I'm sure if you've ever spent any time in the gym, you've heard someone say, listen, just one more minute won't kill you. Yoga, I hear the same thing. In business, I translate this into the concept of, listen, some people's companies start to fall behind. Why is that? How do I get more, whatever it is that I've got to fix it? We know for a fact that the fix will hurt. It took a long time for those problems to happen. It will take some time and some effort and some pain to get back the gain of having something that you absolutely love. In the keynote, I talk about weight gain, weight loss. It took a lot of time to put the weight on. What's it take to take the weight off? It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't miraculously happen. It takes you going through some pain to get back to exactly where it is that you need to go. The next one is compassion. This is a word that's starting to come a bit more around to be okay in the business world. I think in the past we've sort of forgotten that we can be compassionate. We can be compassionate to our own people. We can be therefore very compassionate to our customers. So I talk about that a lot in the keynote. The second to last one is flexibility. Obviously in yoga, if you learn to be flexible. I translate that straight into life, which is the more flexible you are, the less chance you have of breaking something. When I wake up in the morning, I will expect something to change. I just need to be open that challenges might happen. If I don't expect that, or if I don't expect challenges, I'm going to be all tense, like, oh, this is happening right now. Versus I wake up in the morning and I'm like, you know what? Anything's going to happen, anything can happen, and I'm just going to be ready for that and it's going to float over me. So I draw this direct parallel straight to being flexible. And the last part, and I really like to wrap this up, it's a really fun place to wrap up the conversation, is finding a sense of balance in your life. We hear so much about work-life balance. We're getting older. Where do I find my work-life balance? In the keynote and in the book, I talk about directly, how about you took just 5 minutes out of your day? How about you took 1 hour out of your day? How about you took a Friday out of your week just to step aside from life and just to think? One of the things that great leaders do is they know they can't think of the future at the same time they're doing the now. So they take themselves out of the equation just enough to take a deep breath, think, and look at the future, and then come back into the mainstream. Okay, you know what? I got it. But it's almost impossible for somebody to be doing the now and thinking of the future at exactly the same time. So finding that ability to being okay with yourself and to find the balance. So between those 10 things, it makes for a very, very fun, very inquisitive, very different, very super energetic keynote. So I invite you to call, email me, find out more about it, buy the book online, and I appreciate your inquisitiveness to bring me on board and deliver this keynote to any group that you have in mind, because it makes for a very cool generalist, just motivational keynote. So I appreciate your time. I'm Ken Grant with Motivated Branding.